How's it going out there, everybody? Hope you're doing well wherever you are. Repeat Movie Viewer, here to share my thoughts and opinions on movies to all my family and friends and anyone else who's willing to listen. Well, this is going to be a special episode of JP's Watchlist. Let me throw some context. Now, me and CJ actually went out of town a couple of times this past week for two separate concerts. And then we also had a fun day at the all day long yesterday at the Alamo Draft House. I'll get more into that in a little bit. But we actually, or I should say, I know she got some stuff too, but I actually acquired a handful of merch over the various days that we were out of town. So, I mean, on the surface, it's like, okay, so I could just do like a quick little merch video and just kind of put it on my channel, no big deal. But as it turns out, we went to Half Price Books while we were up there, and we also went to the CD exchange, movie exchange, whatever you want to call it. And I've acquired new movies. Yeah, I know. Like I don't have enough, right? Yeah, it's an ongoing joke around here, seriously. But I was thinking, what was the best way to do this? A combination of merch and movies, and I thought, well, I mean, I always wanted. I figured anytime I get new movies, I would just make a JP's watch list, no big deal. But here's the problem. I've already gone and filmed 2 future videos for JP's watch list. I just decided I was going to release them maybe like 1 per month instead of trying to put them out like every other week or something like that. But I decided, you know what, since I've already had the next 2 episodes recorded, why not just do this as a specialty episode? And I was like, you know what, I'm a gamer. So what the hell? This is going to be, consider this a hidden bonus level, if you will, for JP's watch list. So that's pretty much what I'm going to do at this point. But before we get into it, let's at least get the preliminaries out of the way. If you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. If you do enjoy this video, if you get to the end, please hit that like or dislike button. Hey, any kind of feedback is welcome at this point. Anything you want to share, anything you want to comment on, feel free to leave a comment. But without further ado, let's talk about the shit. So, when we first got to, When we first got to San Antonio on Thursday, we went to a Styx concert. It's actually my favorite band of all time. It was my mom's favorite band of all time. I usually don't miss an opportunity in the last 15 years to see these guys. They can still rock, and I'll talk about the concert a little bit more here in a minute. But once we got to San Antonio, we got there a little early. No big deal. Went to the North Star Mall. Kind of, walked around for a little bit. I did actually go to GameStop just to kind of look around. I didn't expect I was going to find anything. Usually I find like a lot of random merchandise that's like super expensive and I don't buy anything. But I couldn't help but notice this particular GameStop was selling older games like PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, older Xbox games, older Nintendo games going as far back as, I want to say the 64? Which I haven't seen GameStop sell older games like that in a long time. It's been a while. I was kind of surprised. So I thought, you know what the hell? Let me look through the PlayStation games, and I'll tell you what, I found something that I've never seen this game before, ever. And you know what, the price tag's in the way. Let me rip that off. $24.99. I think that was a good deal, as long as it works. Wing Commander 4, The Price of Freedom. I always knew about this game back in the old days when I used to subscribe to the GamePro magazines. They advertised this game quite heavily, actually. Sorry, I'm actually looking at the, because I already knew that Mark Hamill was actually in this game, as well as Malcolm McDowell, because I guess they actually film their characters. It's not like animation or anything like that. It's actual FMV throughout the game. But turns out Tom Wilson's in this too, from the Back to the Future trilogy. That one I didn't know about. So I never had the opportunity to play this. And back in the day, I actually did play Wing Commander on the Super Nintendo, and there was a sequel game called Secret Missions, I believe, and I did play that one, which, it wasn't the best flight simulator game, but you know what? For the Super NES, it worked. I had a lot of fun with it, especially considering that when you play the game, depending on how certain missions played out, it would alter your path throughout the entire game. I always thought that was a cool idea. Mom got that game for me thinking that I would like it because I was a Star Wars fan. She wasn't wrong. But never got a chance to play this one ever. I am looking forward to it. The discs are a little bit, they're not the greatest, they're not perfect, which kind of goes against my general rule when it comes to buying like CDs or older video games that are disc-based. If I see a bunch of smudges and scratches and shit, it makes me not want to pay my money. But you know what? Like I said, because I've never seen this, I decided to take a chance on it. I got a year warranty on it, so hopefully it works, and I'm looking forward to trying it out. I might even do a review on the channel when I eventually get into it. So we'll see how that goes. Now, the other thing that I bought at the mall, I forget the name of the store. It was like a Earthbound store, Earth store, or something like that. There was something there that caught my eye. And this is going to be funny as hell, but I don't know what you'd call this, almost like I couldn't think of the word, but it's hourglass, almost like an hourglass where you tilt it up and down and it just, Now, the only reason why I bought this is because it reminded me, and I actually had to find the toy. It reminded me of a toy that my mom got at Burger King years and years ago. It was like a Nickelodeon promotion. Essentially, back in the day, Rosie O'Donnell was, kind of a figure at Nickelodeon during like the 90s, or I forget the time frame. She got this toy a long time ago where essentially it's the same green goo that sits up above her head. Of course, anyone who watched Nickelodeon back in the day knows they were all about sliming people. So the idea was that all this stuff is up here, falls on her head, then you tilt it the other way, goes back, and then you do it again, and so on and so forth. Unfortunately, you could probably see all the green goo has now turned into black shit. At this point. That happened years ago. I don't know how long it's been since it's been like this, but why do we keep it? Because it belonged to mom. We don't throw away stuff that belonged to mom. At least not that. That's got a lot of nostalgic memories. So when I saw this, I couldn't help myself. I was like, you know what? This definitely reminds me of that particular toy. So yeah, had to show that one off. So it's more hilarious than anything, really. But at the actual Styx concert, got two different things. Got a t-shirt, which, if you go to a concert, it's almost blasphemous not to get a t-shirt to commemorate it, you know what I mean? So, not too bad, kind of based off their Pieces of 8 album. A little different color scheme going on. And like most other shirts I've ever seen from concerts, you always have all the different dates and the locations where they go throughout the entire tour, so pretty cool. I'm just going to say this about Styx. I love how JY and Tommy Shaw are still going strong with all the other guys in the band who, and I'm sorry to say, I don't have any of their names memorized, but they've all done a good job of trying to keep the spirit alive. Is there any possible chance, guys, that we can try to get, kind of push our differences aside and maybe try to bring Dennis DeYoung back for one final tour with him singing his particular songs? Come Sail Away, Lady, just to name a few. I would love to hear Queen of Spades. That would be fun to hear, one more time live. I don't think I've ever heard that song live, to be honest with you. But that would be nice. I don't see it happening, but it would be cool as a fan of Styx, literally since I was 2 years old. The other thing I got, actually CJ just had to get this for me, drumsticks, which is funny because when I was a kid growing up, I used to take pots, well, not pots, I used to take like ladles and different other objects that almost resemble drumsticks and a pillow, get up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning when I was 2 years old, watch MTV and beating on the freaking pillows and whatnot. So there was a time where it looked like I might have been a drummer, but it didn't quite happen that way. But it was actually a bit pricey because, as it turns out, it's actually signed by all the band members. There's Tommy Shaw's name, and somewhere over here, very, very small print, almost looks like my handwriting a little bit, actually, Mr. James Young. And you got all the other bandmates are on here. Will I ever open these? Probably not, but time will tell. But that pretty much does it for the Styx concert. For the record, you guys can still rock. You guys still put on a good show. You played a lot of great bangers. I was surprised by one particular song, and I actually recorded most of the songs that they, on my phone, that they actually performed. I will not put them on this channel. I don't see the purpose in it because I feel like everything I put on this channel should be specifically things that I created as opposed to me just holding up my camera and filming other people create something, and I just don't, it doesn't fit. However, I might put those videos more than likely on my viewing YouTube channel, the one I use to watch everything and whatnot. If I do that, I will let everybody know, maybe send a link down the road once I do that, in case anyone's interested in checking it out, because I got the majority of the concert. There was only a couple of times where I stopped recording just so I could kind of relax for a minute, but yeah, I got the majority of it, so that was pretty cool. Now, before the second concert that happened this past Saturday, where we went to go see the Brigade, if anyone's not familiar with them, basically, they're a band that likes to play classic video game music, mostly stuff from the 8-bit era, NES era, and whatnot. But they have dabbled a little bit in the Super Nintendo era, which is what they were doing at the concert. They were playing the soundtrack to Mega Man X, which not only is it one of my favorite games of all time, but it's one of my favorite game soundtracks of all time. So I was super excited for that. However, me and CJ went to Half Price Books, and then we went to the CD exchange on my friend Dennis's request, because we don't have video stores down here outside of maybe Half Price Books. The selection's not that great. So going to a store that specializes about 70% of their merchandising is nothing but movies, guys, I miss that shit. I miss going into a store and just looking at all these different movies and maybe finding a hidden gem that I've forgotten about, or finding a movie that, you know, hey, I don't have that in my collection yet. You know what? It's not that expensive. Let me just nail that real quick. I miss those days. I really do. But we did go to a Half Price Books, and I nailed 2 movies at half price. Only 2. Mostly because they weren't that expensive, and the first movie is, you can't really see the title, but She's Out of Your League. Okay, so this is actually a pretty funny comedy. I've only seen it a couple of times, but every time, it's one of those, like, when I saw it the first time, I really enjoyed it, didn't watch it for a while, went back and watched it again, and it was like, oh, damn, I forgot how much I enjoyed this movie. So, hell yeah, not too bad on the bonus features. Not too bad. It's still wrapped in plastic. That's the other thing. I bought it because it was cheap, only $5, and it was brand new in the plastic. I love that. So I'll crack this sucker open here pretty soon. I know it's got the glare on it, but starring T.J. Miller, you got Alice Eve and Jay Baruchel, I guess. I hope I didn't mispronounce your name, but if you've never seen it, it is a fun movie. Basically, it's about this guy that works at I want to say he's like a TSA worker at an airport or security, something like that. She happens to show up at the airport. He meets her. They start talking. They start hanging out. They start kind of dating. But the whole entire time, just like the title suggests, he really feels like he doesn't deserve her. And some other things happen along the way that kind of make him question that idea a little bit. You could argue that some of the plot points are a little bit on the predictable side, but it's fun for what it is. And I think it has some good humor. Plus, this is my introduction to Alice Eve. So, also liked her in Star Trek Into Darkness. The other movie I saw for the first time, I want to say sometime last year. And I was iffy on whether or not I liked the movie completely. It was kind of a mixed bag for me. But it was only $4. And it's a Blu-ray DVD set, Birds of Prey and the Fabulous Emancipation of Harley Quinn. I thought this was an enjoyable movie. I thought there were some elements, mostly around the Ewan McGregor character, that I wasn't completely behind. I usually am a big fan of him as an actor. I love Ewan McGregor, but I don't know. This movie, his villain character was a little weird, I think is the word for it. But also what caught my eye, not just the price, but the bonus features, quite extensive. Not bad for $4. Even if it's a movie that I thought was kind of or meh, fuck, that's a pretty good price, pretty good amount of features for me. So, hell yeah. Plus, I do like the, not only the slipcover, but I do like the way the cover looks. You know, I do like the art style going on there. Kind of nice. So, that does it for Half Price Books. Can't wait to open that other one up. But we did go to the CD exchange. I feel like I can't talk today. Am I stumbling? I don't know. I can't tell. And I found a couple of movies there. to acquire. Now, me and CJ saw this one, I want to say last year for the first time. Don't Breathe. Very interesting. I call this like a horror thriller type movie. A couple people break into this guy's house who happens to be blind, but turns out he is the wrong person whose house they broke into. Doesn't go well for them at all. Also exposes this guy for how crazy and weird he is. Just a little bit. I don't want to go into detail, but definitely enjoyed this movie. I can't wait to check it out a second time. I know there is a sequel, but I'll be honest with you, I've read the synopsis for it. Doesn't sound too interesting, but one day down the road, not bad for $8. Not too bad. These movies were considerably more expensive than anything I paid at half price, but that's okay. That's not a problem. Next up, sequel to Meet the Parents, Meet the Fockers, which arguably I think I enjoyed this one more than the first one. I think this one's funnier for me compared to the first one. Especially the ending when the big reveal on the camera. If you saw the first movie, you know what I'm talking about. The little conversation where Ben Stiller is like talking to the hidden camera, but it turns out multiple people are doing it. It actually makes for a pretty funny scene. A lot of bonus features going on here. I'll tell you what, sometimes Universal movies don't skimp out. They usually try to go all out with some of this stuff. But definitely a lot of fun with this one. And yeah, I know they're making another one. For the record, I never saw Little Fockers, the third movie. I didn't hear anything good about it, but I intend, I should say, to check it out at some point or another. I just don't know when. Maybe when the new movie comes out, I'll probably end up doing a marathon. I usually like doing that, you know. It'll give me an opportunity to go back and watch the previous two and then finally check out the one I've never seen. And for $7, not too shabby. Not too shabby. This one, I hesitated briefly only because I do not have the first one, A Quiet Place Part 2. I don't have it as of yet, but I am going to get it at some point down the road. Does talk about a specific set of features, but it doesn't really list them all. So give me at least an hour. I think I'll be all right with that. But definitely recommend A Quiet Place Part 1, Part 2. Even Day 1, I thought was pretty interesting. I don't think it was as good as the first two, but definitely not something to skip on, just because it goes back to the beginning and doesn't have any of these characters. For the to my recollection, I saw it twice in the theater. I thought the actors in the film did a good job with what they were doing. You could argue that it doesn't really add anything new to the overall lore of these creatures that come down, but maybe I have heard they are going to make a third one, so maybe we get a little bit more backstory or whatever on these creatures down the road. But I do look forward to buying Part 1 and Day 1 eventually down the road. But I was like, you know what? I gotta have this movie in my collection. Eventually, like I said, I'll get the other one eventually. This one, my old man actually showed this one to me a couple of years ago, and it is actually a very well done Western. I want to say this came out sometime in the 80s. Don't quote me on that. And it does not say. It does not say. Yeah, no, it doesn't say. But that's okay. That's not a problem. Oh, you know what? I think it came out in 1990, but it's got a pretty all-star cast going on here. Kevin Kline, Scott Glenn, you got Patricia Arquette, John Cleese, Kevin Costner, Brian Dennehy, Danny Glover, Jeff Goldblum in a Western? Before Jeff Goldblum became the Jeff Goldblum that we all know, you know, yeah, that Jeff Goldblum. This is before he did Jurassic Park, and I think he hadn't really hit that stride just yet. So, I don't really remember too much about the movie. It's been so long since I've seen it. I just remember really enjoying the hell out of it. But, I mean, the fact that this one was like $13, I was hesitant. The only reason I bought it is because not only does it look like a decent amount of features going on, but it's also got this really cool booklet attached to it with looks like it just talks about different aspects of the filming of the movie and the different actors. It looks like a picture of some of the posters involved with the movie. So, yeah, I feel like it was worth it. I've never seen this before on Blu-ray, especially with this little booklet. So I thought, yeah, what the hell? Not really on vacation, but out of town. So, yeah, everyone always says, when you're on vacation, don't worry about the cost, just have fun. So that's fun. That leads up to, that pretty much does it with all the movies. So the movie portion of this JP's watch list is officially done. But you all, at this point, we get to the location for the Bit Brigade. I'm not gonna lie, it was an interesting night because apparently we didn't find out till later, but they didn't show up until. Ooh, it was supposed to start at 7 o'clock. The show was, and they didn't get there till damn near 9 o'clock. Turns out their van broke down. They had to pay out of pocket to get a new van, or a different van, I should say. That way they could transport all of their stuff, and they barely made it into town around the time that they showed up to try to start setting things up. I mean, I felt bad for them, but I'll tell you what. Seeing these guys for the first time, the weight of having to wait for them, it was worth it. Being a guy who's a big video game fan, especially a retro fan, and a fan of the Mega Man X series as a whole. There's a couple of them I haven't played yet, the later ones, but definitely Part 1 is a big part of my childhood growing up back in the 90s. Had a lot of fun with it. So to hear the soundtrack live was a lot of fun. But what was really cool is that they actually didn't play just Mega Man X. Throughout the levels, they would get to a certain point, like anytime they hit a mini boss or picked up like a capsule, they would change up the music and they would play something from Mega Man X2 or in some cases Mega Man X3. So that was interesting. I wasn't expecting that. That was a nice surprise. But the fact that I recognized just about every single song they played, even outside of Mega Man X Part 1, it was a nice treat. It was a fun concert for what it was. I hope these guys see this because you guys did a really good job. You really got into it. You rocked the hell out. Had a lot of fun. The guy playing the game, I forget his freaking name. I haven't memorized any of their names yet. Noah McCarthy. Yeah, not bad. He actually showed me a couple. Well, while he was playing, he didn't show me personally, but he actually showed off a couple of little tricks about the game that I never thought about. And one in particular that I actually never knew about. So it's funny that after all these years of me playing this game and knowing it like the back of my hand, I can still learn new things about it. That was a pretty cool thing. But since they got there late, they weren't able to sell any merch before the show. So I had to wait till after the show. And they were selling a lot of different things. They were selling albums from other various games they've played before. They were selling CDs, stickers, t-shirts, all the normal stuff you find at any kind of a concert, or at least for these guys, considering that it's all about video game music. I'm not going to lie. If I had the money, I would have bought either every album or every CD they had available because they had some really good games set up. Stuff like Legend of Zelda, they had Metroid, Mega Man 2, and there were a few others that I can't remember right now. But I couldn't walk away without buying something. So I went ahead and bought the Double Dragon Bit Brigade soundtrack, which I was listening to it earlier. I haven't fully listened to the whole thing. I can already tell you that not only does it have the music from the NES Double Dragon, but I want to say it's included some music for Double Dragon 2, because some of the songs I know for a fact are not in this game, but I haven't actually looked it up. Don't know the Double Dragon 2 soundtrack anywhere near as well as I know that one. And that's because I played Double Dragon not just on the NES growing up, but also on the Sega Master System, which I do love the NES soundtrack, but the one on the Master System is pretty good too. But I think the NES one is better. Just my personal opinion. However, the other one I bought, and this is the last thing I'm going to show off here, is the Batman NES soundtrack. This one, there was no doubt, because I fucking love this soundtrack. It hits so well on the NES. On my YouTube, on my viewing YouTube, I actually, there's a couple of videos that I've come across. Two different guys that actually played guitar versions of two different songs from the game. And they're really nice to listen to. So it was nice to hear the whole entire soundtrack with guitar and drums and everything else. So basically, it's one guy on. Okay, that sounds stupid. One guy on drums, but then this band's got two or three. No, whatever. You got drums. You got two guys on guitar, and then one guy on bass. So But you know what's really funny about it is that I threw it on and I was listening to it, I was enjoying it, and as I went through it, I started noticing a few pieces of music, just like the Double Dragon one, that I didn't fully recognize from this particular game, but there were a few that I recognized, and they were from Return of the Joker, also on the NES. There's like 3 different tracks from that game in particular. One of the tracks, I want to say it was, I forget which one, number 7 or number 8. I want to say halfway through it, it kicks into another piece of music. I recognize it, but I have not identified it yet. But what's funny is that I spent about an hour just going through, looking at the soundtrack on YouTube and comparing it to the Return of the Joker soundtrack to make sure I could figure out which one it was. And it wasn't until I changed out, because I put the Batman one on first earlier. It wasn't until I was going to change out the disc and listen to the Double Dragon one before I realized it's actually listed right here that some of the tracks are from Return of the Joker. You know, sometimes I do a real good job of making myself sound like or feel like a real idiot. If I just read the back, that would have saved me a little bit of time. But you know what? I don't care. It was a lot of fun to sit there and try to compare and contrast. It is what it is. I don't care. I had a blast with it. For the record, guys, I definitely want more of your CDs. And I already know for a fact that CJ bought me a couple of vinyl, but she wouldn't let me have it. She ain't going to let me have it until Easter. She was like, oh, I'm going to give it to you on Easter. And I'm like, I already know you bought them for me. Why don't you just give them to me? I could have showed them off right now. It's like, why don't you just give them to me? And she's like, no, save it for Easter. You know, even though you already know what you're getting, I'll give it to you on Easter. And I'm like, what kind of backwards bullshit is that? What the hell? Just gimme. But anyway, I thought that was hilarious. But all right, that's gonna do it. That's all the new merch that I got over the few days of fun that we had. And for the 2 concerts that we went to, new movies, all that good stuff. So yeah, that was it was a fun couple days. And then yesterday, me and CJ went to the Alamo Draft House. They did an all-day Lord of the Rings marathon, the extended cuts of all 3 of the films. 12 hours, guys, 12-hour marathon. I'll do a separate video talking about that. I actually want to do like a quick little breakdown review of that because I don't want to talk about it here. I've already been rambling for about a half an hour, so I don't want to subject y'all to any more. But thank you so much for listening. I'm going to go ahead and sign off here on this video. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. I greatly appreciate it. I decided to do it in this format just because I do have a new camera and I'm kind of working on how to figure out how to use the darn thing. I thought this was going to be a lot quicker, but as it turns out, I kind of do that too much. So it is what it is. Hopefully y'all enjoy it. But thanks again for watching. I appreciate it. As always, everybody, please like if you enjoyed this. Leave a dislike if you didn't. Feel free to leave a comment for anything on here you want to chat about. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. There will definitely be more of these and more videos coming out. But as always, everybody, take care of yourselves. Please be safe. But don't forget to have fun. Just not too much fun.